I am Julia Santos, and I was a fashion illustration instructor at the Altos de Chavon School of Design in the Dominican Republic, which is where I met Antonio. Antonio and Juan came to the school to do a fashion illustration workshop in the mid-'80s. I think one of the interesting things about Antonio and Juan, particularly Antonio, he drew inspiration from the streets. He drew regular people. He went into the streets to see what was going on, what were people doing, and then he fed that information into high fashion. So he went from street, the lowbrow, to the very high fashion. The work, if you look at the work as arranged, it's almost like a study in art history. When I was asked to give a list of things that I required for the classroom, I made a list of books and trade magazines, and at the end, almost in jest, I wrote Antonio's name because I knew that no one else could inspire our students like he and Juan Ramos could. When we watched Antonio draw, it was like listening to a virtuoso play the piano. It was musical, it was grandiose. It was absolutely breathtaking, and I feel so blessed to have been there. One of the most important things for me that Antonio did was that he brought race and ethnicity into his work. He introduced the high-end fashion world to Latinas in his illustrations, to everyone who was of color. And he did it in a very subtle way. He made Blacks and Hispanics sexy and beautiful and put them in his work so that started opening doors to models who are color. And that was really so important. He did it by including them in his illustrations. And for that, historically, he is important. He shared the understanding that education was vitally important to Latinos, that it was the way to get ahead and to open doors. He offered anyone who asked for advice, he gave them advice, he gave them time. He changed their lives. And he helped many of our students procure jobs in New York once they got here. So that is an incredible act of generosity and caring for his people. Juan and Antonio became our friends. My husband, Marty, and I took a trip with Antonio after our first workshop, and it was so much fun. We went to places that tourists would not ordinarily go. Our favorite memory was going to Constanza with Antonio. And Constanza is in the center of the country, and it's where all the garlic is grown. It's very, very cool, and it has big pine trees all around, and very beautiful people. So we stayed at the Nueva Suiza Hotel, which was a resort that had been built by Trujillo, who was the dictator. And he called it Nueva Suiza because of the temperature in Constanza, which is cool. And it had been a very grandiose place with chandeliers, and all the servants had uniforms, and it was very formal. But by the time we got there, the place was really falling apart. So the waiters and the waits, everyone had their uniforms, but they were threadbare. And the chandeliers were dusty, and the walls had cracks, but they kept the pretense. And Antonio totally loved it. We were just in this quirky place, hanging out together, taking Polaroids, walking, and that time formulated an unexpected friendship, and I am always very grateful for it. When Antonio passed away, Juan came to the Dominican Republic to baptize our one daughter, Paloma, and I was very moved. that he did that, and it has always created such a personal bond. So for me, Antonio and Juan were also friends, and I miss them. When you see the show, you have to understand he was a master at what he did. But most important, he was one of us. He was our master. And now we're sharing him with you and with the world. Understand who he is and how much he is loved.